Welcome viewers. Today's discussion topic is related with the basic concepts in genetic engineering unit 1. As we know that genetic engineering is the milestone that is achieved by human beings to manipulate the living cell, and that has related to the development of biotechnology. So, today's discussion, before we start, we will start with the basics that have been developed, that is the developmental issues related with genetics, and then we will talk about the basic protocols that are used in gene cloning and recombinant DNA technology. The development of modern genetics begins with the work of Gregor Mendel, who was an Austrian monk, and he is now considered as the father of modern genetics. He did not have any college background or education, but because of his interest in agriculture, he had selected the pea plant, and in 1966 from his various experiments that were carried out, he published a paper in the Proceedings of the Society of Natural Sciences, which gave or recognized that cellular factors are the basis of inheritance of characters in living organisms. He had demonstrated that the pea plant, the characters such as wrinkled or seed or smooth seed and flower colors is related with certain factors that are inherited from the parents in the offsprings. He also gave the concept of dominance and recessive, but as he was not from the academia and a true scientist for the scientific world, these findings were not of relevance for long until in around 1900 Hugo de Varies rediscovered Mendel's work, and that was the birth of genetics. Later on, this Mendel's factors were related with the chromosomes, which are cellular units, and this work was demonstrated by W. H. Sutton in 1902. The term genetics was introduced in 1905 by William Bateson, and it means that it is related with the hereditary characters that are inherited from the parents in the offsprings. One important discovery was that due to the work of Thomas Morgan in 1910 and his colleagues. This was related with the eye color in fruit fly, and he showed that this characteristic of eye color in fruit fly, red eye or the white eye, is related with the chromosomes of this organism. And by 1922, he had established methods for mapping the genes on the chromosomes, and about 2000 genes were identified or mapped on the 4 chromosomes of Drosophila melanogaster. The term gene was coined by Willard Johansen in 1920s, and the term gene means a segment of DNA that codes for an RNA, that is, it is transcribed, and or polypeptide, that is, the RNA is further translated. So, a gene is a functional unit of the chromosome that is being transcribed and translated to produce a product, usually a protein polypeptide, that gives the cell its characteristics or the organism its characteristics. So, we can say that gene is a functional unit of the chromosome or the genetic material. Another important discoveries that were made in the 20th century was that the work of Griffith and later on Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy. They carried out experiments with the streptococcal pneumoniae organism, and the Griffith's experiments in 1928 showed that there was a transforming principle that was involved in transforming the rough strains of streptococcal pneumoniae into the smooth strains, and the material that was carrying out the material that was responsible, that is the transforming principle, is made up of DNA was experimentally proved by MacLeod, Avery and McCarthy. Similarly, Hershey and Chase in 1952 carried out experiments with bacteriophage of E. coli and showed that DNA serves as the genetic material in phage using the radio-labeled nuclei and of the phages, and the protein coat was also labeled with S35. Further discoveries by and the work of Edward Tatum and George Beadle on Neurospora crassa, which is a red mold, they showed that using the various mutants of this organism Neurospora crassa, they had shown that and established the hypothesis called one gene one enzyme. That is, it further established that the gene is a functional unit, it codes for a protein, and this protein is usually an enzyme which catalyzes a reaction that is required for carrying out or imparting a characteristic to the organism. The work of Chargaff on DNA composition showed that DNA is made up of phosphate groups, deoxyribose and nitrogenous bases. The nitrogenous bases present are ATGC, and they are present, they are binding with each other in the form A binds with T and G binds with C. And the work of Morris Wilkins on the X-ray crystallography of DNA structure, that data helped James Watson and Francis Crick to propose the double helical structure of DNA in 1953. 1960s was a big milestone in genetics, because now it was necessary to understand how this DNA, the genetic material, codes for a protein and what is the genetic code. And it was the work of Nirenberg Mathai, Hargoin Khorana, Robert Hawley, etc., who carried out their experiments using different types of oligonucleotides, RNA molecules and the in vitro transcription machinery and translation machinery, and discovered the genetic code, that is the basic code that for amino acids. Later on, the work of Messelson and Stahl showed that DNA replicates by semi-conservative method, and the work of Arthur Kornberg discovered the DNA polymerases that are very important enzymes in the replication of DNA. During the same time in the 20th century, scientists discovered the three important processes of recombination in microorganisms. The first is transformation, which is related with the taking up of the naked DNA from the environment by the bacterial cell. Transduction, which is related with the transfer of gene from by the phages or the viruses of bacteria into the bacterial cell, and the third is conjugation, which is related with the cell to cell contact transfer. And all these three recombinant processes were well studied, and they helped in various scientific developments in this field of recombinant DNA technology. And because of this discovery of recombination process, the term recombinant DNA came into existence, and it is referred to the natural DNA molecule with a foreign DNA insert. So, even before the advent of genetic engineering, it was known that in the natural processes during cell division and or during the transfer of this DNA by any of these processes, foreign DNA can get inserted into the host cell DNA or chromosome. All these discoveries led to the beginning of genetic engineering, a whole new science and a whole new area, and today it has reached a phase where even the best biotechnologist or molecular biologist would not know all the techniques that are involved or methods that are involved in this wonderful science. In 1950s, Salvador Luria and colleagues, they observed that certain strains of E. coli were resistant to phages. So, we know that phages are viruses of bacteria. They insert their DNA into the host cell, and the DNA then uses the host cell machinery to produce more phage particles, and finally, the host cell lyses and the viruses are released. But there are certain host E. coli strains that are resistant to such phage infections, and that was a point of concern for Salvador Luria and his colleagues. In 1962, an important breakthrough was achieved by the work of Werner Arber, who isolated DNA cleaving enzymes or the endonucleases from E. coli, and this discovery was important because it showed that these are the enzymes that are produced by these resistant strains of E. coli that degrade the virus DNA that enters into the cell without destroying the chromosomal DNA of the host cell. In 1970, Hamilton Smith and colleagues then isolated the first site specific restriction enzyme from Haemophilus influenzae. Now, what do you mean by this site specific restriction enzyme? The enzyme endonuclease that was discovered by Werner Arber cuts the DNA randomly within the chromosomal DNA or the target DNA. So, it was not very much useful for cloning or genetic engineering purpose, but this enzyme which is site specific, which was isolated from Haemophilus influenzae, was able to cut at a specific site within the chromosomal DNA by recognizing a specific site, that is a sequence of DNA, and that was an important breakthrough because now it was possible to use an enzyme to cut the DNA at a particular point in the fragment of DNA. These enzymes were then used by Daniel Nathans and co-workers to restrict DNA other than the E. coli chromosome, that is the simian virus DNA, and for their discovery Arber, Nathans and Hamilton O. Smith, they were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. Another important discovery in the 1970s was that by Herbert Boyer. He discovered the EcoR1, which is widely used enzyme restriction endonuclease in gene cloning. This is a site specific enzyme which is isolated from E. coli strain R1, and it recognizes the site GAATTC. Now, it had come of age. People were thinking of how you can use this restriction enzymes in furthering the molecular biology studies, and it was Paul Berg in 1972 and his collaborators. They developed or they used these enzymes to reconstruct the first recombinant DNA molecule using E. coli chromosome, and that was the beginning of recombinant DNA technology or genetic engineering. But that was with using E. coli chromosomes, but the first recombinant plasmid, that is a recombinant vector molecule, was produced by Stanley Cohen and his colleagues in 1972. This recombinant plasmid had three important characteristics. It had a single recognized site for EcoR1, an origin of replication, and that is it allowed it to replicate on its own within the host cell, and it had a tetracycline resistance gene. So, this was the first big breakthrough where a recombinant plasmid or a vector was constructed by Stanley Cohen in 1972. The other advancements in genetic engineering were the techniques developed for studying the biomolecules at the molecular level, the manipulation, the detection techniques and amplification techniques. One of them was the technique developed by Edward M. Southern in 1975, the Southern blotting technique, that allowed the transfer of DNA onto the nitrocellulose filter papers and binding it, and then probing those filters to detect the desired gene fragment or the clones. In 1977, the most major breakthrough we can say in molecular biology was the development of nucleotide sequencing techniques by Maxim Gilbert and Frederick Sanger. This development led to the human genome and the other genome research projects that has changed our thinking of how we can manipulate or study the genomes. In the 80s, Kary-Mullis developed a very innovative methodology or a technique which we call as polymerase chain reaction or PCR. Before 1980s, to amplify a DNA, it was necessary to clone the gene into the plasmid vectors or other vectors and then propagate it. But with the development of polymerase chain reaction or PCR, it was now possible to amplify foreign DNA fragments or DNA fragments in vitro. That is, you can get multiple copies of the DNA using this in vitro technique. So, now let us look into it. What do we mean by genetic engineering? So, it is a technique that is used to isolate genes from an organism, manipulate it in vitro and transfer it into another organism, usually for a desired trait or characteristics. This is also known as recombinant DNA technology, and now this not only is used for this isolation of genes from an organism, but it is also used for other techniques that are related with the insertion of genes into animals or organisms to get transgenic animals, transgenic plants, and to manipulate those genes for various purposes. We should understand the difference between genetic engineering and gene cloning. When we say genetic engineering, it is a recombinant DNA technology. It is all the techniques that are involved, which are right from isolation of gene to expression to screening to other issues related with it. Whereas, when we talk of gene cloning, we are just focusing or it is referring to techniques for obtaining multiple copies of a DNA fragment or gene by insertion into a vector or by PCR technique. So, gene cloning is basically a technique that is used for obtaining multiple copies of the desired DNA fragment or a gene of interest and putting it into a host. For carrying out gene cloning, we need a vector, usually a plasmid DNA vector, and we have to obtain this plasmid DNA or the vector molecule. There are several steps. You can get the vector directly from a vendor, or you can get a E. coli strain or an organism which contains that vector DNA, propagate in the laboratory and isolate the vector molecule, that is the vector DNA molecule. The next is to digest or to cut the plasmid DNA with a restriction enzyme, which usually gives a cohesive end. Similarly, it is necessary to get the target DNA from another organism and also cut that DNA or carry out digestion of that DNA using a restriction enzyme. The next step would be to combine the two pieces of DNA together with the ligase to form a recombinant DNA molecule, which is then inserted into a host cell, usually a bacterium. This recombinant bacterial cells are then cultured, and finally, there are more number of organisms carrying that recombinant molecule, and we have to screen for the clones which are recombinant from the given culture suspension. So, these are the various steps that are involved in gene cloning. Let us look at some of the aspects of this gene cloning experiment. The target DNA or the foreign DNA. This target DNA can be isolated from microorganisms, animal or tissue cells, or other types of organisms, or they can be synthesized in the laboratory or amplified by PCR technique. All these three methods are useful for getting the target DNA, which can be used for digestion using restriction enzyme and cloned into the vector molecule. So, it is important that if you are working with a particular organism, you need to have a method for DNA isolation from that organism or that tissue or you have to get the DNA sample from the vendors. Vectors are DNA molecules in which a foreign DNA fragment or gene can be inserted and it can be transferred into a host cell and replicated. Different types of vectors are used in gene cloning experiments. They may be plasmids such as the commonly used PBR322, PUC19, or the phage DNA such as the lambda phage and M13 phages DNA, cosmids which are constructed using the cos side of lambda phage and the plasmid DNA, phagemids, shuttle vectors which can be used for transfer of genes into different organisms, artificial chromosomes when you want to clone large fragments of DNA such as the BAC and YACs. Similarly, different types of host cells can be used to insert or transfer the DNA from after it is recombined or formation of the recombinant DNA molecule. The most commonly used host cell is the bacterial cell or the bacterium Escherichia coli. Hence, it is known as the workhorse of molecular biology. There are also unicellular eukaryotes that are used, for example, the yeast cell, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. This organism is preferred when you want to express eukaryotic genes in the host cell, because Escherichia coli is a prokaryotic cell and it does not have the post translational machinery required for synthesis of proteins. Similarly, plant cells can be used as host cell and animal cells or animals whole organisms can be used as host cells for transferring the recombinant DNA molecule. The recombinant DNA molecule can be introduced into the host cell by various mechanisms, and various methods have been developed for this transfer mechanism. The most commonly used method is the transformation method, in which the competent E. coli cells are used, that is the E. coli cells that are treated with calcium chloride, so that their membranes become porous and the recombinant DNA molecule or the recombinant plasmid can enter into the E. coli cells. The next is transfection, in which the virus particles or the phages are used for introduction of the recombinant DNA molecule into the host cell, animal cell usually. Microinjection, electroporation, biolistic are some of the other modern techniques that are used for introduction of the host cell. So, there are wide variety of methods that are available to the molecular biologist for transferring the DNA, recombinant DNA into the host cell, and depending on the nature of the host cell, any of this method can be used for transfer of the recombinant DNA molecule. After the host cell receives the recombinant DNA molecule, the culture suspension or the suspension will contain cells which are not transformed or which do not contain the desired recombinant molecule. There will be cells which are containing the desired DNA molecule or recombinant DNA molecule, and there will be cells which are containing inserts that are not of interest. So, screening is an important part of recombinant DNA technology or genetic engineering, where you would like to find out the clone, recombinant clone, that is the clone which is containing the recombinant molecule with the desired gene. There are direct methods available, such as the replica plating technique on selective media, which contains antibiotics, because the recombinant clones usually contain the antibiotic resistance gene markers, which allows the selection of this recombinant clones. Second is the blue white screening, where the LEG gene expression is used for selecting between the recombinant and the combinant combinant clones, recombinant and non-recombinant clones. There are also hybridization methods, when usually the DNA is extracted from the clones or if the clones are there on the plate, they are transferred onto nitrocellulose filter paper, they are lysed and the DNA is hybridized with the nitrocellulose filter paper, and using DNA probes or using antibodies which are radioactively labeled or fluorescent labeled, you can identify the clones which contain the desired gene of interest. Now, let us look at the applications of genetic engineering. When genetic engineering was developed, initially it was just a thrill to know that we can manipulate the chromosome or manipulate the DNA, insert DNA fragments, but the molecular biologists and the biological scientists, they went further and they started looking at the options available or what they could do with this new evolved technology, and they started using useful genes that could be expressed in the host cell, and that led to the development of recombinant DNA technology and its use for getting useful products such as the insulin, human growth hormone, factor VIII, etc., which are the human proteins that are having medicinal value. Recombinant DNA technology has also been used for developing recombinant vaccines such as the hepatitis B vaccine, in agriculture to get transgenic plants such as Bt cotton, which are resistant to insects because of the introduction of the Bt gene from Bacillus thuringiensis bacterium, which produces toxins that is poisonous to the insect pests. Genes for glyphosate resistance have been introduced in crop plants, so that the crop plants can survive when herbicides are applied onto the field and the weeds are not able to grow. Similarly, this technology has helped in developing crops or getting genetically modified foods. For example, the tomato, the first genetically modified food or crop was that for edible purpose was that Flavor Savoir, which is having a more shelf life tomato that was made available in 1980s. Similarly, transgenic animals are used nowadays for getting proteins of pharmaceutical value, and this is also known as biofarming. They have produced transgenic pigs that produce human hemoglobin. Similarly, they have used transgenic cow that produce human lactoferrin. This methodology, as I said earlier, for obtaining biomolecules of medicinal value in living organisms is termed as molecular farming. Any new science, especially when it is dealing with living organisms, the society, human beings are alert about it, the scientists are alert about it, and they always try to find out what are the ethical, legal and social issues related with that technology. The recombinant DNA technology has several health and environment issues. It is possible to release genes that can cause cancer, genes that can be from pathogenic organisms into the environment using this technology. So, it is very much desired that the technology should be used wisely, and there has to be regulatory or advisory committees, and there are regulatory and advisory committees to control this use, or that is control the use of this technique. This also allows the release of drug resistance genes, so that this is undesirable. So, the use of resistant genes in the vectors has to be limited. It also raises issues related to the fairness of use, privacy and confidentiality, especially with the development of Human Genome Project and getting the genetic data of an individual. That is, who should have access to personal genetic information and how will it be used? It is a concern among the society. Similarly, when the genes are cloned for a commercial purpose, the issue is who owns the genes, who can patent those genes, and will patenting solve these issues. These are the various ethical, legal and social issues related with genetic engineering. I hope my lecture today has enlightened you about how the science of genetic engineering has developed, what are the steps involved in genetic engineering or gene cloning, how it is used for getting various products and in biotechnology, and how one has to use this technique, why one has to use this technique wisely, so that it does not pose threat to the environment and human health as well as to other organisms. Thank you very much.